So I'm super excited today. We have Elliot Elias with us today. So for those who don't know, basically how it works, we do the podcast interview, and at the end we have a Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments, and we'll make sure to get them answered for you at the end. But Elliot, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. So for people who don't know, do you want to introduce yourself? You still there? All right.
All right.
Oh, you still there? Oh, you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Cool. Yeah, screen just went black. Couldn't hear you. So I don't. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Elliot Elias, and first and foremost, I'm a son of immigrant parents who came to this country to create a better life for themselves. I'm a civil engineer by trade, but ultimately decided to pursue real estate full time. I'm the founder and CEO of Elias Holdings, which is a real estate company here in Austin, Texas. We flip, we subject to, and the majority of our portfolio consists of long-term rentals. So I have around 4 people who work for me, and I'm really blessed to be in a position where I can lead and educate others. Pouring into my people at Elias Holdings is really my number one priority. More than becoming the best at what you do in work, I really need my people to be the best versions of themselves in real life. So that's kind of my focus with Elias Holdings as well. I'm somewhat of a wellness freak. I enjoy pushing my body and mind to extreme limits, whether it's running 10 miles, meditating, sparring, or sitting in a cold plunge. And I have a passion for food. I very much enjoy experiencing new cultures via cuisine.
That's awesome, man. I love that. So you said, so are you first generation? You said your parents came over, or are
First,
you? Mhm.
first generation, they came from a city in Lebanon called Tripoli,
Mhm.
and they came to the U.S. for the first time with no money. They didn't even know English, but they came and they planted seeds here in the U.S.
That's great, man. I love that. So you said you went to school to be an engineer. What made you make the switch to get into real estate?
It was really the freedom of dictating the outcome of basically everything that I work for. It's there's something about being entrepreneurial that is extremely rewarding. With whether it's on a day-to-day basis, you being able to do whatever you want, or just having that freedom to where the fruits of your labor are directly impacted by how hard or not hard you work. So I don't think it was engineering that threw me off or that I didn't like. I think it was just me wanting to be an entrepreneur that really pushed me into real estate. And real estate was just one of those things that it's created the most billionaires on earth. It's created the most millionaires on earth. So, I figured I'd give my hand in real estate.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So how did you first get started?
So I started off the day I quit my engineering job was the day I closed my first property, which was up in Killeen, Texas. It was an $80,000 property. I had about 8 grand saved, so I put the down payment for hard money, and they funded me the rehab and they funded me the rest of the purchase as well. So that flip or that burr ended up pretty successful, and I've just been recycling that money to next deals and next deals and next deals.
That's crazy, man. So you quit the same day. So like I'm sure you knew you were closing that day, and you signed and you quit, or how'd that work?
Yeah, so I did give my 2 weeks notice,
Mhm.
and my last day of work was the day I closed my job. So I left a little bit early actually, and I went to close on the property at the title company. I was super nervous, I was shaking, I was sweating, I didn't know what I was doing. And I, closed on the property and I walked it right after, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I just get myself into? You know, and I called my contractor right after because he was supposed to be working on the property. But guess what? He ghosted me. So
Wow.
so that if there's no reassurance at all, I mean that made me crap my pants even more.
Mhm.
So now it's like, wow, like we really have to get going. You know, this really has to work. You know, I'm really balls to the walls on this.
Yeah. No, that's crazy, man. So how'd the first one go? I mean, you sounds like you burned the boat. You know, you don't have the job anymore. Your contractor's gone. You know, walk us through how that went down.
Yeah, it went pretty well. You know, it was I bought it for $80,000.
Mhm.
The ARV was about 160K. I put 20K into it, and I birred the property. So
Mhm.
for those who don't know, BRRRR is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So instead of selling the property, I access the equity by taking out a loan right after so that I can keep buying more deals and more deals, more deals. And that one is still a rental for me today.
That's awesome. So just to like kind of dive a bit deeper into Burr, how much were you able to take out in equity when you ended up refinancing it?
So my loan balance was around 122K. So I actually
Mhm.
made $2,000 on top, which is pretty great, you know. And I took out all the money that I put in. So I have $0 into that property. I'm completely free of that property. It has about 30, 40K of equity right now because the refinance was at a 70% loan to value.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, that one's not cash flowing too much. It's only cash flowing about $200, $300. But that's not my main focus. You know, my main focus at Elias Holdings is to hold as many long-term rentals as possible, so that in 10, 20 years, the equity that's been increasing can hopefully buy me the next 100 unit deal, the next 1,000 unit deal. So yeah, I mean, that's just one small piece to the huge puzzle.
That's awesome, man. So what are you doing differently now than from when you first started?
Oh man, right now I'm really focused on building a team. You know, I'm
Mhm.
focused on how do I work less on a day to day, or how do I relieve as much as possible from my workload, and how do I expand and give responsibilities to as many people as possible so that not only we can multiply, but we can get better quality of and different perspectives from these leads that we're generating. So right now I'm skip tracing data, you know, whether it's foreclosures, probates, code enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. You know, if I'm someone in my business who's skip tracing the leads, I'm calling the leads, I'm qualifying the leads, and I'm buying them, then I'm doing everything in my business and I can only probably close 1 or 2 deals a month. But
Mhm.
if I'm hiring people, if I'm, you know, even if they're not the greatest people on earth, you know, I can train them. And if I multiply, if I can put a person in every single one of those roles, you know, one person for skip tracing, one person for cold calling, one person as a lead manager, et cetera, I can get a lot more deals done. So really, it's relieving myself from as much as possible and replacing myself so that I can focus on other things and get really good at that and then replace myself again. So right now it's just a scaling aspect.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I know you mentioned you have a few people on the team already. What positions did you hire for first, and you know what positions do you already have in your company?
Sure, yeah. So the first person I hired was a cold caller, and that person's just dishing out calls all day, you know, 400 or 500 calls a day. One person I have is a bookkeeper, you know, full-time bookkeeper for me, and she's fully remote. You know, everyone at my company is fully remote. I have a data puller, so someone who skip traces the data, make sure it's all clean, make sure that, you know, we're not skip tracing any duplicate data, et cetera, et cetera. I also have an assistant, you know, who just does, you know, whether it's my personal life or my business life, you know, just keeps me organized and in check. And I also have a lead manager, you know, someone who, once the cold caller sends a lead in, qualifies that lead, ask them
Mhm.
questions, you know, make sure that that lead is actually quality.
Awesome, man. Now are they here? Are they like VAs or
They're all VAs. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, in the
They're all
Philippines or?
remote. So one is in Honduras.
Mhm.
He's actually from Houston, so that's pretty good. One is in the Philippines, and then one is in Egypt. and actually two in the Philippines.
Hmm. That's awesome, man. So how did you find your employees? And I guess I'll go to my next question about a separate one. But how did you find them originally?
All on Indeed. Indeed's
Mhm.
great. You post a job and you get a lot of applicants. I want to make sure that my company is extremely desirable for people looking in. I don't hire anyone unless they know something about my company.
Mhm.
There's so many people who apply just to apply.
Right.
So, I always ask this question: Hey, what do you know about my company? Why do you feel like you'd be a good fit for what we have going on? And it gives them an opportunity to really showcase what they've researched about my company. And typically, when they have done research, they feel like they're a good fit. They know we work hard. I don't want to hire 50 people. I'd rather have two, three, four people who are killers, who are excellent and love working, people who want to get better, people who are trainable. So, yeah, Indeed has served me well.
That's awesome, man. So how do you, with the virtual setting, everybody working remote, how do you kind of keep up like them engaged, and how do you keep like kind of keep the like the culture going, with everyone being in different places? Do you have like any strategies or things you do on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, it's tough when you don't see people you work with every day, right? Like, an office setting is where you have lunch with your people, you go on coffee breaks with them, you can build relationships through that trash time. Trash time is basically not work. But how do you stay close to people who work fully remote? One thing we do at my company is we collectively all read one book a month together, and we have accountability meetings every single week, and we talk about what we took from the book. One book we're reading right now is called Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've
Mhm.
read that one,
I
but it's a
have.
great. Awesome. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, that's
great
a good one.
book. And, they've all taken it into their personal life. And, we talk about our experiences, how we used it in work, how we used it or how they used it with their kids, and it's just a chance for us to bond. Your question on culture, my culture can basically be curated, I think, by meeting weekly. I don't
Mhm.
have to implant my culture every single day amongst my employees. But if I show, and my culture rewards the hardworking. Everyone in my company has an opportunity to elevate themselves and basically upgrade positions depending on their output. So,
Mhm.
if I'm working extremely hard and my employees see that, I'm maintaining my culture. I am my company's culture. So,
Mm.
um, whether it's rewarding people for doing great work or anything else, that's really what my company culture is.
I love that, man. No, I think that's a great point. I think having a book club or something like that is huge because it's one of the things I've struggled with my VAs, and having people work remote, just kind of keep that culture going. So you guys, we just meet everybody like as a team weekly, or you do one-on-one meetings with them too, or?
So I do one-on-ones with everyone, and
Mhm.
then we all meet collectively for about an hour a week.
Mhm. I like that. That's great, man. What do you guys use for like communication? Do you guys use like Slack or something, or how do you guys all stay in contact?
WhatsApp, we're all
Mhm.
in a group chat, and just email or WhatsApp.
Mhm. Nice, man. That's awesome. So, I know you kind of mentioned, the cold calling and some of the other aspects that you're doing. Where are you getting most of your deals from now? Is it the cold calling?
Yeah, I mean, most of my deals actually come from wholesalers. I have this team who dishes out deals, or tries to dish out as many deals as possible, but obviously it takes a long time, right? You follow up, and it takes months and months and months. So right now, I've been closing a lot of deals from wholesalers. A lot of the wholesalers I work with, their buyers have dried up, and I'm still buying. So I'm starting to get a lot more deals. Negotiations are a lot more prevalent. You can come back with a seller, say, "Hey, I know you sent this deal to me at 150K. Can you bring it down? Can you renegotiate with the seller? Because right now it's the market for that.
Mm.
Sellers, if if sellers don't know, they need to know that it's not a seller's market anymore. It's a buyer's market.
Yeah, I think that's great. I feel like a lot of buyers don't do that or don't communicate what they don't like about a deal. So I think, yeah, communicating where you're at is just huge. I'm sure you get a lot more deals that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So working with wholesalers, so we have a majority of our audience is wholesalers. People get into wholesaling. How do you evaluate deals? What do you look for in deals? And how can would you recommend a wholesaler like build a relationship with you as a buyer or with other buyers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I follow the 70% rule. If it's cash, if it's a flip, so ARV times zero point 0.7 minus rehab, or any kind of subject to deal with a really good interest rate and a pretty reasonable down payment, or owner finance, right? I really appreciate wholesalers who don't just blast deals to everyone and their mom. I really appreciate wholesalers who can curate relationships, that one-on-one buyer mentality. Hey, Elliot, I sent you this deal first, before I blast it out to everyone. What do you think? Let me know what you think. I may not pay full or more than what other investors are paying, but I will buy a lot more deals than they will. So, that's the kind of relationships I value with wholesalers, people who value that repeat business.
Yeah, that definitely makes it a lot easier on the wholesale perspective to have some solid buyers and to have to go and chase it around, blast it out every time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And wholesalers are getting creative right now too. They're starting to understand subject to, they're starting to understand creative finance, and now they can structure these deals in any way they can. And it's amazing to see. Wholesalers used to be just, okay, let me get a contract and cash quick close. But
Mhm.
now you're seeing a lot more sophisticated wholesalers. I love to see that.
Yeah, same here, man. Yeah, so I know you said you buy a lot of creative deals too when we were talking before. So what kind can you kind of walk us through what other kind of deals you buy or how you buy your deals?
Sure, yeah. So one deal I closed last month, it was a subject to. The payoff was around 140K. Its ARV was around 350K. So I subject to the deal, I put 30K in their pocket, and it was a 2.15 interest rate. So I walked into around 200K equity, and the interest rate was killer. It was stellar. It only cash flow 300-400 bucks a month, but it has that equity and it has that interest rate. And those are the deals I love. The wholesaler made 20K on that deal. I'm happy. I send me more deals like this. It's of course I worked with the wholesaler on that deal, and I typically work with wholesalers on all their deals too. Like, hey, see what the loan balance is. See if they have a good interest rate. That deal was brought to me cash initially at around 220K. But I said, does that even solve the seller's problem? Why is the seller selling? Is what does their interest rate look like? What are the other factors? I love looking at deals as a whole, rather than just the property. I like working out that situation to put me in the best situation possible to purchase the property too.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's super important, man. So when someone has a deal like a sub to, or maybe they know how to pitch subject to, are there certain like criteria you look for as a buyer, like when you evaluate that deal? Like, what are the main points that you're looking at?
For subject to.
Yeah, if you as the buyer.
Yeah, so
So,
like a good
mhm,
interest rate, for
mhm,
me, it's anything under 4%. That's a sub two that I would take. If there's no cash flow, then the down payment will probably have to be less. If the
mhm,
cash flow is great, I can come up on the down payment. Every deal is really it's a case per case scenario for sub two.
mhm. That's huge, man. Now, is it beneficial for them to get it under contract already, or would you prefer, like you said, them talk to you first and you work on the subject to together to structure it?
Yeah, I mean, if we have that trust and that rapport to where we either have done a few deals together, or we trust each other, then bring me the deal before it goes under contract, and let's work it together. There's a lot of wholesalers who think deals are dead. Just send me the lead, and I'll work with the lead, and I'll get you paid at the end when I work out the kinks with the seller. So really, I prefer the wholesaler to bring me the deal before they put it under contract.
Yeah, that's great to know. And then what markets do you buy in?
So I buy in Austin, Texas. I buy in Bell County, meaning Temple, Texas, Killeen, Texas, um, and I also buy in Houston.
Awesome, man. And then, so if somebody has a deal, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
And San Antonio, I forgot. I also buy in San Antonio. But yeah, if you guys have deals, shoot me an email, elliot@elias.holdings, or reach out to me via Instagram, Elliot Elias, one L, two T's on the Elliot, and I'm more than happy to run through any deals you guys have.
Awesome, man. I definitely appreciate that. And yeah, so perfect, man. So as far as that, I know we kind of went over some of the other things you guys are doing. Are you guys doing anything else on the marketing side to get your deals besides working with wholesalers and doing the cold calling?
Cold calling, we do a lot of door knocking, driving for dollars, and that's literally just me every single week door knocking. I still door knock
Mm,
because it keeps me sharp. Talk to these sellers, um, get shat on by these sellers. It's still good to see. I do want to keep the blade sharp for me, so I still door knock, and
I
that's
love that.
actually that's a big lead source for me. There's
Really?
no better way to find a deal than driving a neighborhood and seeing the most distressed property on the street and just knocking on the door and say, "Hey guys, what's going on? Would you guys ever sell? Are you interested in selling?" And man, I mean, I would say 20 to 30% of my deals come from door knocking.
Really? Okay. So how many doors do you think you knock like a week?
I try to hit 50 a week at least.
Hmm. Is that all in like a certain neighborhood? Like, do you like pick a neighborhood and just go door to door, or how do you? Is there a certain list that you pull? Like, how do you pick which doors you knock on?
Super random. I'll just
Mm.
drive around and whatever looks distressed, whatever is boarded up, whatever looks like it has fire damage or an old roof or the grass is long, I'll knock on that door.
Hmm.
And
So
they're
what kind of?
typically motivated. They
Mhm.
typically want to sell, or they want to sell, or they need to sell and they don't know it. And it's a lot more effective than cold calling. You know, that human interaction is there, and they have that trust with you. Like, okay, this guy's real. This guy can actually close my property. He's not just someone who's calling me out of the blue.
Mm. No, it's a great point. Yeah, I think the closer you are, if you're talking to them face to face, you can't really get better than that as far as being able to influence them and persuade them and read their body language and everything else. So that's awesome, man. So not that's like the one type of marketing I haven't really done is door knocking. I tried to knock on a few pre foreclosures when I first started, but just didn't really get anywhere with it. And yeah, just kind of focus on cold calling and text blasting. We do a lot of automations and like drip campaigns. So what? How do those conversations usually go? Are they people usually pretty pleasant, or they're pissed you're knocking on their door?
It depends. Some people are pissed because I'm probably not the only one knocking on their door.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but for the most part, people are pretty friendly. People will tell you what the inside scoop is, and I'm pretty straight up. I'm like, hey, this roof looks old. What's going on here, guys? I'm a real estate investor, and my specialty is purchasing properties that are in distress. You don't have to touch the property. You don't have to put a single uh, penny into this property. Let me relieve this headache from you because this house is a headache for you. A lot of times I talk to sellers, they're draining money into their property and they're doing the work themselves, and it's all just shoddy work. And at the end of the day, you probably know this, Kai. Most people, or there's a lot of people who don't deserve to be homeowners. Some people buy homes and they completely leave it in shambles by the time they're done owning it. And um, you know, I buy from people who need to sell. Not who want to sell. That's how I get the good deals.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. That's great. Yeah, I feel like if they don't have the desire or motivation, and can't really make them want to sell, or it's going to be a pulling teeth the whole time, anyways. But
Very
awesome,
true.
man.
But yeah, you should try door knocking. Door knock. I mean, maybe not yourself,
Hmm.
But like send some wholesalers out there, you know, like if I were to encourage any new wholesalers who are trying to find their first deal, man, go knock on your first 50 doors. I was in San Antonio yesterday and there was a street, I think it was Pine Street. Man, every other house is distressed there. Every other house is boarded up. And I bet if, you know, if I didn't have anything else going on, if I was just laser focused on finding my first deal, one of those properties would be mine by the end of this month. So, you know, go knock on doors, go talk to people. You know, people need to sell. You're not out here doing something that's not needed. People need to sell their property. Go knock on the doors, send a lead to an investor like me or Kai, and you know, go get that first deal.
Yeah, I love that advice, man. And I think, yeah, door knocking's great because, I mean, you're doing what most people are afraid to do or what most people won't do. And, when you do what people won't do, that's when you're going to make the money and you're going to get the deals.
Absolutely. Do what most won't so that you get or what's that quote? You know what quote I'm talking about?
Yeah, I'm blanking on it too, but yeah,
Live
but
like most won't so that I'm blanking, but I'll
yeah,
get it. I'll
I
get
think
it.
it's a Cardone quote. I've heard Grant Cardone say, I think, but yeah, it'll come to me. But I know what you're talking about. But awesome,
Just
man.
do
But
what
yeah,
others won't do, man. And you're probably not going to have success. Most people won't do. Do what most people
mm,
don't do, and you'll find success, whether it's real estate or anything else.
yeah, 100%, man. So perfect, man. So yeah, any final thoughts you'd like to share with people as far as people, again, mostly like newer wholesalers, investors want to get started? I'm sure you remember what it's like starting, and kind of went over that a bit. But any advice you have for people that are just getting started and getting in the game?
Yeah, submerge yourself in real estate. There's so many people doing this. There's so many communities you can join. There's so many good people who want to help. If you really want to find your first deal, you can. If you really want to be a real estate investor, you can. You know, it's all there for the taking. And take advantage of me. You know, I'm easily available. And, you know, if you're going to help me find a deal, I will pour into you. You know, I'll pour into anyone who can, um, who has that hustle and who has that entrepreneurial spirit. So, you know, you can do it. You know, it's not rocket science. It's something everyone can do. So, you know, don't overthink it. It is hard. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Mm,
But just know that it's a real estate in general is a long game. It takes a long time to see the fruits of your labor. You know, I follow up with sellers months before the deal actually closes. So just remember, it's a long game, long game. You keep hearing no until you hear yes. Once it gets that yes, it's payday.
mm, 100%, man. So I know you mentioned you read a lot of books, you read a lot of books with your teams. What books have helped you the most?
Uh, there's a book I'm reading right now. It's called Multipliers and Diminishers. It's basically how to lead a team, you know, how to take advantage of the people that are with you instead of and increasing their output, you know. There's ways to where you can increase someone's output and increase and have them still love what they do instead of making them work like a dog, you know. If there's a CEO who actually interviews people and has no positions at his company. He literally just looks at the person, sees what their strengths are, and he caters the position and he creates a position to what their strength is. And that's
Hmm.
kind of the role I want to take with my company. It's like, okay, I am hiring you for this, but what do you love to do? What are you really good at? And let's see if we can get you to do that, because a happy employee is a good one, is a dangerous one, is one who's going to do a lot of good work. So, yeah, that one, that book, The Multipliers and Diminishers, if you're growing a team or if you're leading people, that's a great book to read. And The Gift of Failure by Ari Rostegar, that's also a really good book.
Failure. I haven't heard of that one. What's that one about? Gifts and failure, but
It's so there's a real estate developer in Austin. His name is Ari Rostegar. He basically talks about a story He's one of the largest real estate developers on earth now. I think he's on track to be the youngest billionaire. But it just talks about how many times he's failed and how
Mm,
many times he's just the story of resilience. And when I fail, if sometimes it feels like the end of the world, but there's some people who lose millions of dollars when they fail and they still keep going. Like
mm,
that is, to me, that's crazy. So it's just very inspiring to see that people fail all the time. It's not just me, it's not just someone else. And yeah, it just talks about his story. He started an entertainment company. I think he lost a crap ton of money because it didn't actually something didn't happen in the company, but he just kept starting new companies until he landed on real estate, and real estate was just his niche after that.
that's awesome, man. I'm gonna pick that one up. But awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you, man, coming on. And so, yeah, we're gonna switch over to the Q&A portion. If anyone has any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. We'll make sure we get them answered for you. So it looks like we have a few people. Somebody said they're in Houston too. I'm local. I think you said you're in Austin too. Did you say you buy in Houston?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
from
okay.
I'm from Houston, so um, I do understand Houston, and I do buy in Houston. I have two properties there right now. I love that city.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I haven't done too many deals there. But I know there's a lot of people doing a bunch of deals there.
It's a big market.
Mm, that's huge. Awesome, man. So, but yeah. If anyone has any other questions, make sure to drop them. We'll get them answered for you. So I know you kind of mentioned. So, what was kind of like your trajectory like too? I mean, you mentioned you had that first deal that you bird. When did how things go from there after like quitting your job and dealing with like the ups and downs of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I'm still dealing with them today. The
Mm,
ups and downs are every single day. Things happen, people quit, sellers decide not to sell. There's some my monthly expenses right now in mortgages, employees, and everything else is around 30 grand. If there's a vacancy, if there's two vacancies, three, it hurts. It
mm,
hurts, and I gotta hustle. I gotta go out and try to find a way to find some income. So um, it's such a roller coaster every single day, Kai. And I don't think I'll ever be comfortable as an entrepreneur. I think it'll just the bigger you get, the more problems you're gonna get, but the more success you'll get as well.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that was a big lesson for me a while to learn. I feel like I used to have the misconception that eventually, once you hit a certain level of success, that it would just be smooth sailing. But like I said, yeah, the roller coaster never stops, man.
How are you seeing this market?
It's good, man. It's definitely yeah, you have to get more creative. Like you said, you have to have. I feel like you can't just rely just on cash offers. You have to be able to pitch other things too, and you have to actually have deals. Feel like a couple years ago, you could just get anything under contract and you could find a buyer for it. So I think it's yeah, definitely a little bit tougher than it was, but I feel like when it gets tougher, there's always more opportunity because a lot of people are going to back off and slow down. So I think the people that keep persevering, keep pushing through, are the ones that are going to come out the other side even stronger.
Do you like this market more, where it's easier to find the deal than to dispo it, or do you like the crazy market we were in, where it was super easy to dispo but tough to find the deal?
Probably before. I mean, because yeah, we were selling a lot of deals to iBuyers, and it was super easy, and they were just overpaying. So it was like we're selling to Open Door, and it was we're just making like stupid money, and it was like very easy. Um, so yeah, I'd probably I'd take that again for sure. But it's I mean, there's pros and cons for both. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick that one. How about yourself?
I like this market as a buyer. I'm not dispoing deals. Maybe if I was wholesaling, I'd like that market too.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I like this market myself. I think there's so much. I can cherry pick deals right now,
Mm-hmm.
which is great, which is huge.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. I see that'd be a huge pro. But Awesome, man. So yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on, man. I know you got a bunch of great takeaways. And just one more time, what's the best way for people to connect with you? And
You can connect with me on Instagram, Elliot, Eliott, Elias, Elias. DM me, or you can email me, elliot@elias.holdings. You can look up Elias Holdings. You can find my phone number on Google. But yeah, reach out to me and let's get some deals done.
awesome, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on, man. And yeah, I definitely recommend connecting with Elliot.
Thank you for having me, Kyle.